Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your hosts, Mike
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. YPN people, I don't know about you, but I love helping out a friend. That's why I want to shout out my friend Brian Little and his podcast, Your Favorite Blockhead. This is the only show that manages to weave together peanuts and MMA into one heck of an amazing podcast. You can find Your Favorite Blockhead wherever your favorite podcasts reside and at yourfavoriteblockhead.com. Do me a huge favor and listen to Brian's show. You'll be entertained and you'll help out a friend. Now, as I said, let's get into today's topic. So normally I open up with some smart, witty thing, but I want to talk to you about something.
Okay.
So we've all heard about the newest rage, right? CBD.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
Did you know that like any other health-related product, there are important differences that every customer needs to consider? Yeah, the market has quickly become flooded with some inferior products, and it's really hard to choose the right one. So here at Yogi's Podcast Network, we trust CTFO CBD products. And in particular, we are in love with the 10 times pure gold Super 1000. Now, CTFO has products that will keep your skincare, health, weight control, and even your pets in order. 10 times pure gold gives you a full spectrum CBD oil that others just don't supply. Manufactured in the USA using certified GMP manufacturing and a patented delivery system. 10 times pure gold Super 1000 is one amazing product.
Wow.
It even comes with a 60-day empty bottle money-back guarantee. Can you believe that?
What the heck does that even mean?
It means you can use it all up, and as long as you return it within 60 days, they'll give you your money back, no questions asked. Now, they promise you that you will feel the difference almost immediately. To get your hands on 10 times pure gold Super 1000 with zero risks, head to yogispodcastnetwork.com/CBD. Yes, we make a small commission, but you pay nothing extra, and you get the highest quality CBD on the market today. So get going with CBD today at yogispodcastnetwork.com/CBD. So we all know that we had the Torya-sode, which was all about you, and I asked you a bunch of questions, and you
Like a weirdo.
kind of answered them.
I answered them.
Kind of. But then we also had two really interesting ones recently. One was called the Swapcast that we did with Brian from Your Favorite Blockhead.
You did with Brian from Your Favorite Blockhead because I returned to the Great White North.
Yes. And then at that same exact time, we had, drum roll please, the Torya-sode. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't the Torya-sode. Duh. We already talked about that. It was the solo episode.
There's been a couple of
in
those.
which I ranted and raved for about 11 minutes. Sounded like a bleeping lunatic.
Yeah, you didn't have anybody to sass you. That's weird.
Yeah, nobody to put me in my place. And I just got to be as sarcastic as I wanted to be, and it was a blast. But tonight, we have a special episode.
Do we now?
I'm
I
going
feel
to call
unprepared
it
for this.
Appreciationcast.
Appreciationcast?
That's what I'm going to call it. Appreciationcast. So, what I want to know, and how do you want to do this? Do you want to do all three in an order and then do the other person's all three? Or do you want to do number 3, number 2, number 1?
I would like to do number 3, number 2, number 1.
And swap off back and forth.
Yes, because I don't like to be in the spotlight for too many minutes.
And then should I go first or should you go first?
You should always go first.
Alrighty then.
Good sir.
So we're going to talk about the 3 top reasons why I love you and why you love me. For those of you who don't like somewhat mushy, emotional, relationshipy type of shows, you probably want to go buy that CBD right now and come back for the next episode.
We'll be less mushy next time, we promise.
Remember, just go to yogispodcastnetwork.com/CBD and get CBD instead of listening to this, because you will be bored. But with that said, we're going to do the appreciation episode. And we're going to start with number 3. The number 3 reason why I love you is because you motivate me to be a better person. I think because we depend upon each other for survival, basically. I mean, that's the only way to put it, right? And we're equals. I think that, well, the biggest thing I see is that you don't just go, oh, well, your side of the business is making more side than mine, so I want you to focus on increasing my side. You're just like, yeah, there's an opportunity right there. It's going to help you out. Good, go do it. And you motivate me to do things rather than being selfish about it. You kind of push me, and that makes me want to perform at a better level because I don't want to disappoint you. Not necessarily that you'd be disappointed, but it's the normal human reaction when you're doing something on behalf of someone else. You don't want to be disappointing them. So that is my number 3 reason why I love you. What's your number 3 reason why you love me?
My number 3 reason why you are loved by a Torya is that you have the most enormous heart for all of the things that matter to you. Like Yogi and the tiny humans and just things that matter to you, and like people who are important to you, you have the biggest heart for them. And you'll do all the things for them, and I think that's fabulous.
How so? I just don't know if I agree with you.
Well, it's my opinion.
But I'm trying to understand, like, how do I have a big heart? What have I done that shows that I have a big heart? Seriously curious.
Well, like, people who are important to you, I'm not going to name any specific person, have been not fabulous to you, and you still go out of your way to make them happy because they are important to you. And even if they're crappy, you still have the biggest heart and take amazing care of them.
Okay, I can see that.
And Yogi. This dog right here, he can be the biggest jackass in the universe.
No, he's
or
not.
the sweetest jackass in the universe.
He's just a lover boy, always.
Until he poops on the floor.
He's my favorite creature that's 4-legged and furry.
But you have the biggest heart for him. And Diego, the assault dog. He's bitten you and growled at you and stolen your spot, and you still love him. And that's why you have a big, enormous heart.
Animals get they just get me. I can't even explain why. Like, I am not, or I wasn't, I'm going to change my terms here. I was not a big cat fan. Period. I wasn't. Then you got all into your, those poor kittens. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, I'm not bringing 5 freaking stray cats with fleas into my damn house with their freaking rude mama who like runs away when you talk to her. No, I'm not doing that. Then you were, you said it once, and then, you didn't say it again for a while. And then you brought it up again, and I still was kind of like just ignoring it. I know you figured out by now that if I'm eventually going to give in on something, I just won't give you a fight. I just try to ignore it as long as I can. And I kind of try to make you ask for the thing.
And you hope that I'll give up.
Because sometimes if it's not important enough to you, you just won't ask for it. So, like, if I'm against it, but I'm not, like, how to put it, massively opposed to something, if I'm massively opposed, I'm going to tell you, no, that ain't happening. Not in my lifetime. We are not compromising on that. And I feel bad sometimes for doing that, but you do the same thing. Like if I said I wanted to get a parakeet, you wouldn't be like, okay, I'll suck up my fear. You'd be like, I'm moving out. I'm not living here with a parakeet. I know this, okay? And I'm not saying that I want a bird, but what ends up happening is once we have enough respect for each other that once we know those things,
right,
we don't go there.
There are boundaries.
Yeah, well, we respect those. So it's kind of huge. It's kind of huge. But the animals, they just, you and then you were so like, oh, but it's so, oh my God, this one's got a bad eye. I hope it's not going to die or lose one of its eyes or something. And I was like, all right, what do you want to do? And you're like, can we capture them in the mama? And I'm like, oh my God, how are we going to do that? And then you're like, well, I'll call that place. And, for once in their entire lifetime, the place that will be remain nameless came through. Wow, that was a shocker.
Initially.
That was a shocker. But anyway, long and short of it, we get those cats in here. And like I said, was not a cat person at all. But because you guys were so enamored with the kittens, and I honestly couldn't find anything wrong with being enamored with the kittens.
Right.
I felt bad for the mama cat. She's in there all by herself, and she's like looking out all sad, and she's all skinny because she's nursing 5 kittens, and she's eating constantly the food, but she's not gaining any weight. And I just felt bad for her. So I sat in there and I'd pet her, and I would talk to her, and then after a while, I'd be excited to go see her in there. Oh, there's the cat. She likes me. Wow. Cats never like me, ever.
And now the chubby only likes you.
She loves me. Like, that cat loves me. And I couldn't let her be adopted by just anybody. And then at some point I realized I couldn't let her be adopted by anybody but me. And I didn't have to pay a damn thing for her. She's mine. That's it. Done. End of story. So, yes, I have a spot for animals. And Yogi, Bree, and Diego definitely claim one of those spots.
Bree is another one of those animals that you didn't really want.
100%. I was opposed to taking a puppy.
You were like, we're not taking a puppy. We're not taking a puppy. And then I was like, but look how cute they are. And Cheryl needs help.
That was the part that got me the most, though. Cheryl needs help.
And then
that lady does so much.
She's here for a week, and you've decided we're adopting her. Like,
and you thought I was kidding.
I thought you were kidding. And then we adopted her. Like, it was just like this big tornado of things.
Well, it was funny how it worked. It was funny how it worked because I was like, oh, yeah, let's get this done before she changes her mind. I'm like, we're going to adopt Bree. And you're like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, look, yeah, I want to adopt her. But, I don't want our audience to think I'm a total asshole, because what I actually did was say, I want to adopt her, but you have to also want to adopt her. And so you were like, oh, I don't know. Let me think about it. And I remember it was a Monday because we had gone to the dog park.
Uh-huh.
It was a Monday. And then you later were like, okay, if you really want the dog, we can get the dog. And I don't think you thought I was serious. I thought you thought I was going to, I'm betting you thought I was going to say, oh, I was just kidding. What do you mean adopt the dog? Instead, I was like, okay, Cheryl, how much is the dog? And then we adopted the dog.
I remember asking you, so is this why you didn't want me to get a puppy?
And I said, yes. So now tell me your number 2.
It's your turn.
It goes like a snake from 1 to 1. Then you do 2. Then I do 2. Then I do 3. Then you do 3. It ends on you. So tell me your number 2 reason why you love this guy.
If you use this against me, I will fight you until the end of the world. But my number 2 reason is I like that you push me out of my box of comfort.
Okay, how do I push you out of your box of comfort?
Well, you're doing it right now.
Why?
We're podcasting. This
Okay,
isn't
but
my thing.
We've podcasted for almost 300
It's
episodes.
still
By
uncomfortable.
now, you should be comfortable.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
I think that's a state of mind then. I do.
That's fair.
That's just a state of mind.
You can think whatever you want.
I think you could conquer that easily if you really wanted to. In fact, you do every night when you get on here and you podcast.
Doesn't make it any less uncomfortable.
And when you come on the Small Biz Advocacy podcast to tell us about your virtual assistant business, you also will put aside that. I know you. You're good. You know what? I read somewhere, I wish I could remember who, and I can't remember if it was an actor or a musician, and I'm more inclined to believe that it was a musician, because in my mind, being a musician is a lot more like vulnerable and transparent than being an actor. Because, when you're a musician, you put your thoughts down in the songs, and you go out and you perform the songs. You have to talk to people every night, big, huge crowds of people. But when you're an actor, you go and you're in front of like a crew, and yeah, maybe millions of people see your work, but they're not all staring at you at the same time, night after night after night after night after night after night, like a musician. So anyway, it was probably a musician, but they basically said that they were stepping out of their comfort zone every single night that they did their music, but that was what made them do it, was their love for the music. So, I get what you're saying. Like, maybe the fact that you love me and I like doing this, you step out of your comfort zone for that purpose. That's kind of cool. That's
Well,
like
sometimes
a sweet thing to do.
you like hard shove me out of my comfort zone to make me
Everybody
podcast
does.
with you, but it's okay.
Everybody does, though. Like, sometimes we need that. I need that from time to time,
Right.
But so my number 2 reason why I love you is that you get me, and I put get in quotes.
Ooh, finger quotes.
Completely. Like, just with some of the stuff we've been going through and talking through, you bring out points that are kind of at the back of my mind, not at the forefront of my mind, because they're just like who I am and how I am, so I don't think about it.
Uh-huh.
But you bring it out and point it out, and it makes me realize how much you get me. You just get me. And you don't question why I would act a certain way. And I honestly feel that we could do like one of those stupid game shows where they ask you questions about your partner, and they could ask us questions that we might not have actually had like conversations about.
Like the Newlywed Game.
And we'd still... Yeah, but they ask them things that you've had questions, you've had discussions about. What's your favorite color? What kind of... Do they like cake or pie? They ask stupid things like that where they've discussed most of that. And if they haven't, they should have. But I'm talking about if they brought up things like threw a scenario at you and said, what would his opinion be? You'd know the answer.
Or at least be
pretty damn
in
close.
The ballpark.
Yeah. You wouldn't be way off at all.
Huh.
I mean, you're talking about if it was like 90 degrees, you might be at like 88.
Sometimes I tell you about things, like Canadian style things that you don't already know about, like news.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, he's going to 100% disagree with me on this issue. I'm going to tell him anyway.
Well, but that's good to know, because I do the same thing. I don't feel like it's right to keep an issue that I'm interested in from you just because I think you're going to disagree with me. In fact, we've talked about this before. Usually what happens with us is by having those disagreements, we talk it through and we bring each other closer together on the issue. We may not ever totally agree, but we come closer in agreement. And I think it strengthens both of our positions on that issue.
Well, sometimes I may not bring it up like when I don't really want to be disagreed with, but I'll always tell you about it so that we can have a conversation.
But yeah, I think you getting me like that is just blows my mind. It does. It just blows my mind. I mean, I think it's nothing short of amazing, because you just do it effortlessly.
That's pretty cool.
So my number one main reason why this guy, love you, that lady over there, next to the furry CEO who's asleep on the job, is because you are extremely supportive of my goals and dreams. Extremely supportive.
Huh.
Look where we are right now.
In our living room.
Our business has grown sort of nicely. It's growing. But we have this business because I was frustrated about a job hunt, and you went along with my idea of venturing out on my own, try to make money.
Yep.
And you didn't just like dip your toe in or put your leg in up to the knee. You just jumped right in with me. And you've been supportive of some really major moves that we've made. I think this last move that we made that brought us to where we're kind of coming to a conclusion of it now, the engagement, I think that was a major correct move.
I agree.
I mean, I don't know if I told you, but Ellen is interviewing video people because she, of course, she felt like that was a good question to ask. Like, who's an expert on video? I mean, you have to have a go-to person, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's where I'm thinking, too. Is like not just for us, but then when we get customers that need video and they need like to really immerse themselves in it, you have a person that you can hook them up with, right? So
Makes sense.
she's interviewing people for herself, but also to help us narrow down who we might be able to talk to. So, I thought that was nice. But I feel like the decisions we've made in like the last 9 months have been really good. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't think it's any coincidence that we've been doing the Vital Factors meeting every single month. And we're just going on an upward. I don't think it's coincidence. I don't.
I think we made a lot of positive decisions that have caused it. I don't think it's just
I agree
the
with
meeting,
you.
but I do think it's the glue that holds everything together.
But see, I would word it differently. I would say it's the impetus for all of the good decisions that we made, because we changed our mindset. We had to go through everything we went through in order to get to where we are.
Do you remember our very first podcast episode?
Yeah.
And we were like super depressed about all of the business things and how much it sucked.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? If you go back and you listen, you'll hear me say that I want to focus 100% on podcasting, etc. That's never become a reality, but we still do it. I still have a blast with it. And we resist the urge to spend a small fortune constantly upgrading gear or whatever. I mean, we've used this same setup for how long now? At least over a year. We just don't touch things. We don't mess with it. I mean, I read things all the time like, oh, you need a mixer to do this. And I say to myself, ain't nobody going to call in, so why do I need to set a phone up? People don't call in.
And if people want to call in,
they can leave a
then
voicemail.
we'll go on Squadcast and they can formally join us.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So I don't go crazy over stuff like that. And I think, I've been listening to some things that we've recorded and the quality's so much better. I mean, everything's just so much better. But I'm just glad that you got behind me on my goal, because that created where we are now. That was the foundation for where we are now. And that comes from you being a supportive person. And I try to do the same for you. In fact, I think sometimes I have bigger dreams and aspirations for you than you do for yourself.
That's not surprising.
Because I think I believe in you more than you believe in yourself.
That shouldn't surprise you at all.
Oh, it doesn't. I didn't say it surprises me. But I mean, that's okay. That's one thing I think the Bible gets 100% right. When you get married, it's two people becoming one person.
Okay.
And I think that what happens here is we act together to make an income, decide where to go on vacations, decide where to live, etc., 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 etc. All the decisions get made as a we, not a Mike, not a Torya, but a we.
Like our upcoming trip to Denver, which was just like a casual suggestion of something that I might think was cool. And then you were like, yeah, that would be awesome. Let's do it. And now we're going to Denver.
Well, yeah, but that's the point. Like, it's a we thing.
It's really cool.
Like within our business realm, there's definitely things like you're free to make your decisions on things. I'm free to make my decisions on things, and we just live with it. But still, it's because we trust each other to make those decisions with the bigger we goals in mind. You know what I'm saying? Like we keep that in our forefront. Like even though we're doing our own thing, we would never do something that would take us away from where the combined us wants to go. Right. You know, it'd be like if we suddenly decided that we're going to move to Denver, and then I got offered a great opportunity that required me to be in like New Mexico. Well, I would probably, if I wanted to take it, I would negotiate with them some way to get me from Denver to there, paid for, and then do it. Why not?
Yeah.
So I'd commute by plane every day instead of, or 2 times a week or something like that.
Or we would consider migrating to New Mexico for a short period of time.
Right, but the point is it would be a we. But the point is it would be a we decision, not a me decision, and that's what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
But now that leads us to the penultimate conclusion. We're heading down the home stretch. We are rounding third base, running towards home plate. And Yasiel Puig has the ball in right field, and he is firing it to the catcher. But we'll determine if you're safe or not when
Yogi?
you tell us your number one reason why you, that woman over there, loves me, this jerk over here.
Yogi, can we fire him? Yogi? Excuse me, sir.
Your number one reason,
Knock,
please.
knock, knock. Can we fire him?
Don't.
Don't. I'm going to murder you in your sleep. I was talking to Yogi, obviously. Because you're ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That is the number one reason.
I don't understand what you mean by ridiculous.
You just led in to my number one reason with some horrifying baseball reference, and then you Jeopardied at me, and that's why you're ridiculous. Those things
So I'm goofy.
make you absolutely ridiculous and are the number one reason why I love you. So, way to know what it was and lead me in with some perfect examples, you giant dingus.
I didn't, though. Honest to God, I didn't.
Something inside your brain.
I just felt the move to introduce it with a baseball reference, which is now probably ruined because we've talked it to death. But I decided to use the baseball reference because, it's exciting. It's the ultimate conclusion of our discussion.
Anyway, that's the thing. That's how I feel. You are funny and ridiculous and crazy and a psycho, and you dance through the living room to go get yourself snacks sometimes, and you sing at the freaking dogs, which I find absolutely the most irritating thing in the world when I'm trying to focus on something, but so funny when I'm not focusing on something. And
that's kind of funny in and of itself.
Sometimes I just want to leave the room because you're
never
mind
just. Sometimes
Diego,
you do leave the room.
Singing at Diego, and I'm trying to focus here. I can't add numbers while you sing.
He's not the only one I sing at.
But specifically, it was Diego today.
I sing at Bree.
Trying to add
I sing
numbers.
at the Yog Dog all the time.
Trying to add numbers. This dude over here, he's singing at the freaking dogs, and I'm just it's so funny.
Do you want to hear
shut
my
your
song?
Pie hole.
Do you want to hear my song? I'm going to do my song.
Okay, do your song.
My Diego song. You ready? You guys ready? Because we got to call him back anyway. Diego, Diego, Diego is sweet, but he really needs a home.
Diego,
Diego.
where'd he go?
What's up, Diego? So, with that, Diego has returned from being exiled to Main Street. And I did my Dago song, and we've heard the 3 reasons why we love each other. And I think it's amazing because, you know what, your sense of humor and that sort of thing, like you just talked about, is definitely could have easily been any one of the top 3 as well. And I couldn't really actually legit tell you that that's the perfect order, 1, 2, 3. It could be 1, 3, 2. It could be 3, 2, 1. They're all kind of interchangeable, and they change depending on my mood, which one is my favorite. Because, it just depends on your mood. But your sense of humor, it's kind of like my singing to the dogs. There are times when I absolutely just want to be like, what the hell did you just say? Then there's other times that I just can't stop laughing. But there's other times I just can't stop laughing. It's so funny. And that's just the weirdest thing. It's you like my singing when you're in the right mood, and you hate my singing when you're not in the right mood. And I love your sense of humor when I'm in the right mood, and I hate your sense of humor when I'm irritated.
Right. It's the most wonderful and most irritating thing all at the same time.
All at the same time, exactly. It's such a weird situation.
And on that psychotic note, good night, everyone.
Hasta la bye-bye, Diego. Diego. Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.